Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senap. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. I actually have fudge, which is super rare at this time of the year, but for some reason I got it in my brain that I needed to make fudge. So I made fudge, and it is delicious. I cut it up into teeny tiny little bite sizes, and thus you can have a little bit more. So I have that, and then I just have a plain cup of Earl Grey tea. I know. That's not super exciting, except it really is. Anyway, let's get real. I want to talk a little bit about facing fears. Now, I am not a daredevil in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I really have I have fear of almost everything. We were actually at a Perkins the other day, which is neither here nor there that it was a Perkins. And a spider ran across the table. I got up and would not sit on that side of the table again. And my poor husband actually did end up disposing of the spider. And it was a teeny tiny little guy, maybe the size of my pinky. Like, it was very little, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't extremely fearful. So a couple weeks back, now almost a month, I suppose, God opened up some opportunities for us to go into a town. And we went to this town, and it was, the church is kind of a younger crowd, which used to be my thing when I was young, right? And it was, it's a college town, and it was really very fun. And we went to the church, and we did several services there. It was really great. And in between the morning and evening service, I thought it would be a great opportunity to go to the local coffee house. Now, I love to go to coffee houses, first of all, because I love the smell. And it is something that is just very relaxing to me. So I love a good coffee house. They always have great pastries. This one did not. I actually ended up getting a cheese stick here. Because it was a Sunday afternoon, and I think there wasn't a lot happening. And so I got my cup of tea and my cheese stick, and I walk up to the second level of this coffee house, and I look around, and I realize by far, in fact, I have doubled the age of everyone else in the room. No one else in that entire coffee house, including the person working there, was over the age of 22. They were all college students. It was very funny because I walked through, and there were several of like Kevin's books on the table from the morning that they had bought them, and they were discussing them. And all of a sudden I kind of began to feel like I was a spectacle. First of all, I'm the old lady in the room. I really have no reason to be there. Everybody else is with somebody else doing homework, looking productive. I am trying to not be stuck in a hotel room. Like, that is my whole purpose here. And so I really felt like, oh, and no, it's true. Everyone would follow me. Like, why is this old lady here? And I realize I'm not an old lady. Like, I get that being 48 does not make you super old, but it also does not make you young. So for those of you that are like, yeah, it is 48's old, I get you. It's okay. I was super uncomfortable. I really was. It was just, I was like, okay, normally I go and I think about like podcast ideas and, try to do some work and get some things going. And, I'm really trying to figure out how to take Real Life with Jenny out of the podcast and into churches and really kind of have that be an impact happening. Anyway, neither here nor there. So I was trying to like brainstorm ideas, and I couldn't, because I sat there completely frozen in fear. Like, it was just are they watching me? Do they think I'm a fool? Like, what if they hear I think I was listening to a murder mystery at that time, and I'm like, oh, wow, would this be approved of? It was just like, I just got in my head. I finished my cup of tea probably quicker than I've ever finished a cup of tea in my life. And I went back and I just took a walk down the road because it was probably in the 30s. And I was like, this is beautiful. So I walked a little bit and then I went back to the hotel room. And I was just like, Kev, I have never felt so uncomfortable. I was so just kind of paralyzed with fear in like a very weird way, because I can be around people. I like people. I most days I can speak to a stranger. Like, that's my thing. Like, we go to a different church every single Sunday. I'm always the visitor and I leave as a friend. Like, it is just who I am. And I sat there almost paralyzed with fear. Now we have the Sunday night service that goes really well. And the next morning we get up and we are heading to a Bible college. Now, this is so wild to me because it never dawned on me that the next week would be at a place that I would be intimidated by. Now, I have taught little children, I have taught high schoolers, but there is something about the college age group since I have left that age group. Let's just be real. It's been a couple years. They intimidate me. They are all more educated than I am. They all have their lives together and they know where they're going. And I'm like, I'm at 48, not having a clue what I'm doing. Like, I am making things up day by day. It is just, so I did not even, I was never nervous about this week at the camp. I mean, not at camp, at this college. I was never like, oh, this is going to be intimidating, until I sat in that cafe. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm about to spend a week with people that scare me to my core. Well, we get there, and I will tell you something. I faced my fears. We went, which was super hard for me because we ate in the cafeteria. And the first night when we got there, we ate dinner in the cafeteria, and I was so nervous, I almost couldn't eat. Like, I was so like, what if I'm eating the wrong thing? And I am so not cool. Like, I am their parents' age. I am literally their parents' age, guys. Like, it was crazy. And there were all these fabulous college students and Kevin and I. And I was like, okay, who sticks out here? Like, we do, right? And then we got to do chapels and I got to know some of them and I got to spend time on campus. And I will tell you, it was a life-changing week for me. I don't know that it was as impactful for the college students as it was for me, because I realized that my fear has come out of my inadequacies and how I don't feel like I'm enough, right? I don't feel like I have my life together. I don't feel like I know where I'm going. College was never what God had for me. That was not part of my journey. So I actually never went to college. It was never part of, I don't know that I've ever even said that on here because I'm so embarrassed by that piece. But I got married 3 months after I turned 20 years old. We went straight into ministry. Like, we were full-time senior pastors like a month after we got married. There was no time for me to be in college. And I never felt smart enough to go to college. It was never something that I felt like really would ever work for me. So I have always been intimidated by people that are educated and have a path, a career path that is just like, wow, that's amazing. I met some of the college students and the faculty, and I did not, when I was having conversations, there was never a moment that I was like, well, let me tell you, I'm not qualified for this to tell you. It was just a God ordained time in my life that I realized that I may not have gone down the same path as a lot of the people in that community. I have not been in 4 years of college, and I did not meet my husband in college. We actually met in high school. There we are. We started pastoring at a very young age. We've been on the road for almost 20 years. Like, I have a lot of life experience. And I have limited myself to avoiding certain people because they are, quote unquote, better than I am. And that week I realized that even though I don't have the same education required, like education that a lot of those people do in that group, including the faculty that all have their doctorates and are smarter than anyone you've ever met. And you just sit down and have a conversation and you're like, okay, we can talk about regular stuff. And then my husband starts talking and then they've lost me because they're talking about all these things that I do not understand. But that's my everyday, right? My husband is an extremely smart man. So you just kind of get used to not having a clue what's happening. But it was a week of leaning into God and being able to talk to people and minister in a way that was my wheelhouse, which is really being able to hear the Holy Spirit speak and talk to people. And there were some that I'm like, I want to be your best friend. I realize you're 20 years old, but how can we become friends? Like, it was just one of those weeks. And so I just wanted to come on and encourage you that there are people in your life that you are fearful of or that you're intimidated by. And I have a sneaky suspicion some of them might have been intimidated by me because I am a little louder than the average bear. I, can be a little different. I'm unique. A good way to put. I'm like, how do I put that in a nice way? I'm a unique bird. And so I really feel like we can put people into a space that we are afraid to talk to them. There are people that I have gone to church with all my life, and I am scared to death to ask them to go to coffee. And I have known them for 20 plus years. Some of them even longer. And I'm afraid to say, hey, you know what? I'd really like to get to know you a little bit better. Let's go out for coffee. And when you do that, it's not as scary as you think it's going to be. Now, I have been in coffee dates that I was like, yeah, this was too scary. I'm done. One time, I'm good. But I have found there are people that they just want to connect. Everyone wants relationship. That is what God created us to do, is to be in relationship with Him and relationship with one another. That is a central part of what our makeup is. And people want to connect. And so I can get into this rut of I'm not qualified to meet with these people. They pastor a church way bigger than I am. They're much more educated than I am. They're funnier than I am. They have more children than I do. They have more money than I do. And I have found, especially that week, that all of that can be set aside. And you have common interests. I mean, when I think about my book club, it's one of my favorite things that I have in my life is my book club and the ladies that come to my book club. It's 3 different generations of people that come to this book club. And the only thing that we have in common is that we read. We have other things in common, like we all love Jesus. There are, and we're all becoming friends. But really, at the very beginning, we had Jesus and we liked books. None of us even read the same kind of books. And it has become a time for me of just letting my guard down in a way I don't get to do very often. Do you have those people in your life that you can just let your guard down and just kind of not try to be anything important or special? You can just kind of be and just speak what you're thinking about, and there's no judgment. And it's just such a freeing place. And I think that we have lost that. We have lost that we're looking for those, that maybe we don't feel like we can find it anymore. And I'm here to tell you that I found that in the least likely place at a Bible college, where I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like that was something that I was qualified for. And I found a home there. I'll be honest with you, it was really hard for me to leave. I was kind of like, how quickly could I get a doctorate so I could work here? I was like, I wonder if they're hiring. I know it's far from home, but it'd be worth a commute. I found a place that just felt like home that I did not expect. And so I just want to encourage you to be brave and to go beyond those fears and maybe ask that person out for coffee or send a text message or a Facebook message or an Instagram message to them if you see something that's going on in their lives, and just saying, hey, thinking of you, how are things going? Just check in with people, because that's what we need. We need to put aside our fear, and you would never know what kind of connections you're going to have because you set that aside for 1 second and you're brave. And honestly, that is my everyday challenge. I text people or Instagram or Facebook them quite often. And every time I do, I am like, I'm so nervous. What if they don't see this? What if they don't want to be with me? And there are lots of people that I've sent messages to and said, hey, you want to get together for coffee? And they've never responded. And I normally do it twice, and then I just let it go. And I say, okay, I guess they didn't want to get together. It's okay. And that's hard because sometimes you feel rejected by that, but that just means that it wasn't the time, right? It wasn't the time, it wasn't the right person, and that God maybe has a different connection for me in a different way. But my prayer when I've done that is that they know that they're important to me and that they're special to me, even if they don't respond. So it's a win, right? It's a win. And so I just want to encourage you to set your fear aside. Who do you want to connect with? If it's me, please do, because I probably want to connect with you more than you do me. So let's go out for coffee, even though I'll drink tea. But I just want to encourage you to set that fear aside and see what kind of connections God has for you if you do that. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram, Facebook, and Be Real. You can support this podcast really easily by going to buymeacoffee.com/Real Life with Jenny. It's a great, easy way to support this podcast to keep it going. You can also go to christconnection.cc/Jenny and find all of my information there. I told you that last time that we now have a way for you to contact me if you want me to come for a retreat or a women's event or anything like that. I am very open and would love to come out and share the love of Jesus and even connect. Let's connect again. So this week, as you begin to set your fear aside, look at this, I'm all stumbling. Set your fear aside and connect with that person that you've always wanted to connect with. I pray that would be an amazing God connection for you, and that it may not be comfortable, it may be uncomfortable, it may not feel like home right away. You know, those people that just make you feel at home, it may not feel at home right away, but you never know why that connection has been important to you and what kind of things that person can bring into your life that really will enhance it. The last thing I want to say is they always say the five closest people to you are where you're going to be in 5 years. So when you're looking around and you're like, I want to be where they are in 5 years, reach out to them, connect. And it really is true. The people that I connected with 5 years ago have really impacted who I am today. And so I know right now there are people I need to go and connect with that I'm afraid to, but I'm going to go after it, and so should you. Have a great week.